So I understand that these are the area of your expertise where you mentioned, Fahad, that you design and advise on application development on Force.com and Heroku. We discussed this. And then you also advise on integration, security, application lifecycle management, mobile strategy, IoT, AI. These are your kind of like areas of expertise, right?
Yeah, so these are the things that a solution engineer, like from a platform side, would usually do.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to have more technical skills compared to like a normal folks,
Mm-hmm.
um, just because I just happen to have that background. I mean, nothing special about me. I mean, I just happen to be in right places at the right time. That's about it. So.
But that's a good aspect because that would show your technical acumen as well, which might come in handy when you are managing bigger teams, etc. So, any particular projects for these particular areas that you would like to share? I understand that we discussed some of these in quite detail. For example, the Heroku one and the App Innovation Campfire program, etc. Anything else that you would like to share before we move on to your next position as Director of IT?
Yeah, nothing that comes to mind right now. So, yeah.
Okay, so if you have anything else, please feel free to email that to me, right?
Okay. And I
Okay.
just looked at this experience deals. I think I'll need to work on this because it's missing a lot of deals. Okay, because they just happened recently. So I'll add those two. So okay, yeah.
Okay.
Let's go
So you
ahead
can
with
just send me the
the
updated list. All
yeah.
right. So uh, your next two positions are again at CMMS, right? What I would be doing is so the application developer position that goes way back in time, and that's not something that we need to focus on. So I'd be kind of like um, just briefly putting in that you worked as an application developer. You started as an application developer at this particular company from this date to this date because your most recent experience is the most relevant one. All
Yeah,
right. So we'll
agree.
be discussing
Agree.
we'll be discussing the director of IT position. So tell me about this. Some of the key projects, some of the responsibilities that you had there as director of IT, the teams that you oversaw, the stakeholders that you worked with. You know, an overall view of your an overview of your
Okay.
job journey.
Okay. So so at this position when I was so at this company I was hired out of college pretty much. So I initially started as an application developer. So that's what that first position. So the first year I kind of worked like that. What happened was one day my boss he didn't show up. So
All
the
right.
owner of the company told me, well, now you're it. Now you're going to be developing this IT department. So at that time, there were like three people. I was like hired
All
as
right.
the third person to work at the company. So it was essentially a startup they wanted to do. So they wanted to build a cloud-based software for maintenance management, or CMMS stands for Computerized Maintenance Management System or
All right.
yeah, that's what that was. So at that point, I did the hiring. So I found the people, I hired them, and I created a team that would be capable of creating that
Developing this
software.
cloud-based software. All right.
Yeah.
And how big
So
was this team?
this team started like from like one all the way up to 8 people.
8 people. Right. So this was a small company, I believe, or
Yeah,
this was
it was
just
a
your
small
segment.
company. No. It was a small company, so 8 people,
And
and
this was
then
their core product. The
yeah, this is specifically for a product. So and then in 2008 we released the product. So that was the first release of it. So when I left in
first release of the
20,
company. So that would be the primary product that the company
yeah, this
had, the
is the
core
product
product.
that made the company. This is the product that made the
All
company.
right. All right. All right. So, what challenges did you address on your way to releasing this product? When I ask about challenges, be it management challenges in terms of the team hiring, in terms of building their expertise, to delivering the product itself, to the technical aspects, to the stakeholder management aspects, everything. Because
Okay.
this is a very good
So number
leadership
one thing
role.
is, yeah, so I did not had experience for that job. I mean, I would just be very
Mm,
frank when I started because I
mm,
was like it was second year in college. So a
mm,
lot of that learning that I kind of did was trial and error. So the first person I kind of hired was an okay person, but not was not the best hiring decision I would make like today. So I had to learn on the job to see
mm,
what can I do about it. And then I did my own research. I talked to some of my friends that I had, some of other like my previous boss, and started to get some feedback because the owner of the company didn't know much about that part either. She knew her
mm,
product, like what she wanted to build, and she knew the sales process. But as far as like running an IT department, she had no idea. So in that company, I took care of like setting up everything from like their basic IT operations all the way up
mm,
to doing things like who to hire, dealing with the recruiters, setting up what requirements were kind of needed to bring those people in. And then I was also actively participating in designing the software. So I was also leading that part of it. So, I mean, the initial architecture or the initial code that still lives in the heart of that application was written by me and one other guy. And then we started adding
mm,
like more people as we kind of go along with that part of it. I was also responsible for operations of it, meaning
mm.
like where that product is being hosted.
All right.
So I needed to make sure that the service is running properly, and it's hosted in a place which is like reasonable. So we had like different vendors. So I was even doing
Mm,
like vendor management part of it. For the employees, I was doing employee reviews, like yearly. I was deciding who to get paid what, like the raises and stuff
mm.
like that, because the owner didn't. I mean, she just asked me what are my
So you
recommendation, and
manage
then
the
she took it.
payroll
And
essentially.
sorry,
I said you mentioned you manage the payroll essentially, payroll benefits, etc. Everything.
I didn't wrote the checks, but I decided who get paid what.
Hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. And what else? Any again from the operational aspect, you mentioned that you were also responsible for deciding the
So
complete,
this is the
release
company.
audience,
Yeah,
etc.
yeah. So when I started, I mean, this was the owner showed me the balance sheet. So it was less than 250K that she was making, the whole company
All
revenue.
right. Mm-hmm.
So when I left, company was doing more than, I think it was $6 or $7 million a year
All right. So
in
this would be
revenue. And
in how many years? In say
I
seven,
mean,
eight
this
years?
thing happened maybe like in 6 or 7 years,
Mm. Mm.
because the initial part it was like very slow, and you can say from like 2008 to 2015, that's where
It
it
its
went from
peak,
like a
right?
below $1 million to a $6 or $7 million company. So
Mm. All right, all right. And in terms of like, so you mentioned that you assembled and mentored the development team, right? That was like 1 to 8 people that you kind of helped bring on board. And then this, you mentioned that the impact was so much so that thousands of users kind of like used this product, right? And this had 1.5 million transactions daily, right? When you
yeah,
say 1.5 million transactions daily, these would be data transactions.
yeah. So these will be like individual people who are coming in and visiting the application. So this is not like a website. This was a
Hmm.
web-based program. So I mean, we were building cloud software as cloud was actually developing. So
Hmm.
um, so it was kind of like, yeah. So these are like total numbers, like how many different types of people that came in. So there were like good few thousand users every day who would
Hmm.
log in. and this was the number. Now this has even gotten bigger, and the company has even gotten bigger. But I had better opportunities, so just moved on.
Right. And then you mentioned that you were also able to kind of like release upgraded program versions or product versions. So three delivery of three MVP plant software as a service releases per year, and then delivery of 1 to 2 MVP plant customer on-premise releases per year, right?
Yep.
This was kind of like product expansion itself.
Yeah. So every release we kind of did it. It wasn't just bug fixes. We were adding new capability to the software.
Hmm. And the
So these were
impact
like
that would
new
have,
releases. Sorry.
I said, what would be the impact that this would have?
Impact
I
would
understand
be,
that revenue generation was a direct impact.
yep.
Other than that,
I mean, other than that, majority of the features we were kind of adding were like features that the customers were asking, and then extending the capability to stay competitive in the market, and also making sure when you're constantly like updating, you're updating the software to the latest standards that are out there, not just um, I mean,
yeah, so solidifying your
just bug
product
fixes.
base, right?
Yep, yep.
So, Fahad, this product, was this like one of its kind product, or because in order to maintain market competition or stay ahead of the curve, this had to have something different and special than the other products being
Okay.
offered, right?
Good point. Good point. So the other point of view was the software that were available in the market were very cumbersome to use and very
All
difficult to
right.
use. And people had to do a lot of different steps before they can do a basic operation. So what happened was people just stopped using stuff. So
All
our
right.
point of view was let's make it simple and let's have people do their job so that they shouldn't be sitting in front of the computer just trying to do something simple. So our thing was let's make it simple and easy to use and keep it modern and just fulfill the needs.
All right. So this would help you get above the curve. So you also mentioned that you were responsible for working or resolving any software related bugs, issues, and then integrating this particular product with other platforms. For example, you manage the ERP integration projects with this particular product, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So, any particular challenges that you faced there, or project related, impacts that you were able to make there that you would like to share?
I mean, there were like challenges, but we weren't able to make a sale from that SAP integration. We didn't have expertise, so we had to bring in a third party who kind of did the work. And
All
we just
right.
worked with them, provided them with an instance, work with them. I mean, they did deliver the product. I think our sales wasn't able to like convince customers to go and buy it. I think it was just
But then this was
left with,
outsourced,
yeah,
as in
yeah.
a third party vendor. All right. And you also oversaw the QA activities and the test aspect of the testing, implementation, development, integration, all of those aspects for this product.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
All right. And you mentioned that you also managed custom development projects, which I believe would be again around this product. Any particular projects that you would like to highlight?
Not at the moment that I remember, but some of these were like more custom changes that people kind of needed, and there could be like certain prior when we started building our product, we also were doing MP2, which was another product. So we built like custom projects, and we were doing some consulting stuff. So, I mean, you can just leave it at that. I don't know. I mean, how much value that it could be. And I forgot
All right.
a lot about it.
No, that makes sense because it goes way back in time. I completely
Yeah.
understand that. So what was I thinking about? Okay, so you also led the, just a second, maybe. Okay, so those are the other aspects, and then Let me quickly see what else can I. So this particular product, you had certifications for Windows 2012 R2 server and Windows 2012 server, and then this also helped you certify as a MS Gold partner for application development. So tell me more about this particular accomplishment, result, etc.
So what has happened is with Microsoft, if you have a product that you developed in their framework,
Mm,
the .NET one, it has to be installed on a certain software, and they have a test suite that you run on top of it. And if those tests pass, they say
mm,
that your product is compatible with our server, that you have run
mm,
our minimal required test, and then you registered as a silver or a gold partner. So when you do
mm.
that, you actually get a lot of benefit back from like Microsoft. You have to, I think the membership initially is like, I don't know, a few $1,000s that you just put in, but the benefit you get out of it is like pretty crazy. Like they give you, like our development software was pretty much free. We used to get like free Visual Studio, which
All
we
right.
actually developed the product. And then we used to get free Windows, and we used to get like a lot of like test software that we used to develop our stuff on, and also like credits from Azure to host the application, things like that. So there was a lot of benefits from that perspective, and also a lot of like free software that companies can use, like our company used internally for like things like SharePoint and Exchange Server and things like that.
All right, that makes sense. And any particular or big names of stakeholders, business audience that you kind of like pitched the product to or presented the business case to?
I mean, one was Kerry Products, Kerry Ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a pretty big company. We did some work with what is the name of that company that provides you like moving. It starts with a U, not UPS. U something. I'm just drawing a blank right now.
All right,
There
that's
there were a
fine.
few big names. We had a few big names. Kerry Ingredients is the one that we had. It was one of our biggest customers. They had about like
Mm,
27 or 40 different plants around the world that we had.
mm,
Um, yeah, I'm just the other companies. We had Seattle Mariners. They
mm-hmm,
maintain their stadium on our software. I know that.
mm-hmm.
Um, who else? Um, there was a bunch of other companies that were like small. I don't think anybody would know. So
All right. So just one last thing that I wanted to clarify about the Salesforce position. You mentioned that you would be sending me the list of the deals that you closed. So I believe that these are the biggest clients that you worked with or for, like that you kind of like closed deals with. Um, for instance, you mentioned that you won the Miller Coors logo, right, and the Boeing logo, and this was kind of like mainly because of the of pitching the product to them. Also, looking at the technical architecture design side of the whole product. What other how did you what are the other key areas of or key contributions that you made in winning these particular deals? Just to get an overview.
I mean, usually when you get involved, I mean, you're responsible from a technical perspective, the architecture
Mm,
side of things, you're dealing with the architects. So making sure they're comfortable, you're answering their questions, you are helping
mm,
them designing an architecture which is sustainable, and at the same
mm,
time, you're coming up with a value prop that helps them differentiate, like why Salesforce, why not somebody else? Why don't you want to
mm,
go and do those things? So that is that part, and then you also have to work with the core team, which is like very very important
mm,
because managing that relationship, and sometimes you're going to be standing in front of the business folks also. Not
mm,
all the time you're going to be working with the IT people. So in that
mm,
scenario, You just have to um, work out the messaging up front, and you just also have to show leadership from the perspective like if something is getting challenging, you just kind of take ownership and see, I mean, if this is something in capacity to kind of do that. If
Mm,
not, then you need to find out who are the right resources to bring in from a technical perspective. You technically act as a leader from
mm,
that side to bring the right set of resources or help the core team bring the right set of resources to kind of do that. Um, I mean, we just kind of did a pretty big deal with JCI, and that's
mm.
not listed there because that was last year. That
Yeah,
was
and it
yeah.
it is. It is listed. They're part of multiple Heroku and MuleSoft deals at JCI.
Yeah, it just
This
just
has been
lists that.
highlighted.
I mean, but it was
Okay,
a
so
pretty mammoth effort that we kind of did. Started with
mhm,
some. It was I would say, a year and a half long marathon that we kind of ran with those guys
mm.
to to get that thing done. And MuleSoft was a company we acquired, so we actually had to forge a relationship with those teams and present
Oh.
one face with the sales force. So there was some contributions I did. There were some contributions with the sales guy who kind of did it. And then
Mm.
we also had to bring in some of the Heroku pieces, which is the other platform that I kind of had.
So
And yeah.
yeah, so sorry to cut you, but the list that you're going to send me, is it going to have these accomplishments as well, or should I just quickly cover these up right now?
I can add that. You won't be getting the document tomorrow. I just need to think about it and work on it. So probably day after
Mhm.
tomorrow, if that's okay.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine. That's fine. So, because these are, since you have mentioned that some of these were particularly challenging projects in terms of, for example, closing the deal with JCI, right? And the fact that you also had to integrate a newly integrated, acquired company, MuleSoft, etc. So these are good challenge aspects. So I would just want to make sure that we cover all this.
hmm
Um, in the resume. So if you're fine with it, I can discuss it right now. If you want to write it down, just let me know whatever path you want to go forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting a little bit late here. I know you're in
All right.
California. So what I'll
Mm-hmm.
do is let me write that down. And
Mm-hmm.
because you have actually given me a lot of things to think about because I wasn't thinking from that perspective. So
Mm-hmm.
let me create a document for those deals and I'll send it to you and see
Right.
how much is usable or not. I mean, if you have any other questions, I mean, happy to answer those. So,
Okay, so when you're preparing the document, think on these lines. So you have to think of the challenges that you faced while, for example, let's take JCI. So think of the challenges that you had to face or the, unusual circumstances that came your way that made the whole thing a bit challenging. The
yeah.
action strategies that you took to address those, and at the end
hmm
of the day, the results that you were able to get. All right,
Okay.
challenge, action,
Makes sense.
result. Okay.
Challenge,
So having
action,
said that,
result.
and result. So CAR essentially, challenge, action, and result. All right.
Okay.
So having said that, I'll just quickly wrap up the call now. Thank you so much for your time, Fahad. This was a very insightful conversation, and have a good night.
Yeah, you too. Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.